I'm here with my man, Mr. Paul Culligan, and hope you enjoyed the tour. And we're back in Digital Cafe right now, and we're going to talk about setting up some gear, shall we? So, first thing we've got is this beautiful little play, little Kodak, and we've been testing it out and playing with this thing. I gotta say, I really am impressed with it. The new capabilities and features they've added are pretty slick. So we're going to configure this thing.
I mean, from a 20,000-foot standpoint, when ZI-8 came out, we're like, okay, this is the new standard for cameras. And whenever you have a new standard, you want revision 2. And that's what this is. This is all the things they did wrong with the ZI-8. There's not that many. If you've got one, stay with it. Save up the money to get one of these.
Yeah.
But if you're starting in the game, this is a great little cam.
Great. Well, I'm going to show you the next step up, which is this. I'll give Brandon the view here. This is a little Canon Vixia HF-M30. Oh, what a fantastic model number. But it's got a little flip-up display. It's touch sensitive. And like the Kodak, it uses a SD card. So we can plug in like this. And a battery. And I think this thing's about $350 or so, all right? But what's great about it is it shoots incredibly nice, high-quality video, and it's very adjustable and quite compact, all right? Now, the next step up in my current favorite...
external mic jack.
External mic jack, absolutely. My current favorite camera for the money, and I happen to have the bigger battery attached to this. I want to just show you that. It comes with a battery that probably lasts an hour and some change. But the big difference between those two is it has 2 SD card slots. And what does that mean? Well, let's say, for example, you're going to do a live event. Well, you could, each card can hold, it depends on the quality of the video. It's got a lot of variables and stuff. But basically, somewhere in the neighborhood of, we'll just say 4 to 7 hours, okay? Yeah. Well, as soon as one card fills up, it automatically cascades to the second card. Yep. So you can literally record an entire event with 2 memory cards in one day and never touch the camera.
Yep.
It is really, really slick.
Keep it plugged in, no battery will go that long.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what's nice about it, it's got some controls on it here, a fancy control that can be adjusted. So you can do actually depth of field, which is a big deal amongst videographers. It just means you can have the background blurry and then the foreground in focus. And even on the display, when you're shooting some video, you can actually touch the face that you want to be in focus and then move around. So it's pretty slick. I took this camera with me to India and Europe, and I gotta say, I mean, I was in a bus, pointed at Big Ben, way zoomed in London, and the anti-shake capabilities are fantastic. It's got face recognition. I mean, it's like, holy cow. I mean, and this thing's about in the $700 range.
What's the model?
This one is, great question, thank you, Don. It's the Vixia HF-S200. Now, there are 2 other models, and again, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're watching this video like 3 months after we made it, it came out with something different, okay? But here's all you got to care about. This one has no built-in memory, and you just record straight to the cards. Now, which is great. I actually prefer that, to tell you the truth. Then they have a version that has 32 gigabytes of built-in memory and another one that has 64 gigabytes of memory. Now, what's great about it is obviously you don't have to buy some cards. The bad thing is the only way to transfer the video is by either hooking up a USB drive or USB cable, which is slow as heck, okay? Or you have to go through a little utility and say copy the file over to the card.
And cards will always get cheaper. Cards always go on sale. And the thing is, even if you bought the 64 gig version, in 6 months, 64 gigs in cards will cost you $50. So
yeah, it's
go with the card version and make life easier.
Yeah, that's my opinion. And you never have to worry about, oh no, it filled up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nothing worse than being on vacation and having this thing filled up or on a client job. So, the next step here we have is one of my other favorite little gadgets. I've been recommending this thing for a while. It's called a Manfrotto tripod. And the model number, because everyone's asking that right now, it's in the buyer's guide, by the way, 785B. I think it's around $50 or so, I believe, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong, someone, but what's nice is it's telescopic. meaning this thing pulls out. It's made out of aluminum, which is quite nice, and it's got a head that extends up and down, and then a little deal so you can rotate the doodad around here, the head. Here's the next thing. To hook up the camera, the shoe, this is called the shoe, comes off. And I'll let you hold this little devil here. And we can hook it up to virtually any kind of a camera. Now, we just essentially just screw it on here. We've got a little screw. And once the camera is mounted, we slide it into the top of the tripod. Okay. In a little while, we're actually going to go and hook this critter up, but there, fabulous.
Absolutely
Isn't that
fabulous.
nice? Thank you, Paul.
And you can buy, I've seen iPhone 4 stands that will do this tripod format as standard.
Yeah.
So you can get one, and I've seen people filming on their iPhone 4.
Yeah. Yeah, it's surprising how good it is. And one thing we talked about off camera before we went on here is, Brandon, you want to slide the fancy camera into view best you can, and you might have to focus it. I don't know if it's on autofocus or not. That is our JVC. Tell me what that model number is. GYN100? GYM100, okay? That camera costs about $3,500. It's high def, and you saw there were a whole bunch of cables and doodads that were attached to it. That's only because of the way we're broadcasting today that we have to have this other stuff. So the question that I would assume people are asking is, okay, what do I get for $3,500 versus, let's say, $600 or so, or $300, or $200, right? $150. And the answer is, it's always the glass, the electronics, the features, and in that particular camera's case, it has 2 card slots as well. It records QuickTime movies, or if you flip a little internal switch, it'll record MPEG-4 movies, which can be edited directly by a PC.
Okay.
So where these cameras, these AVC HDs, it records using MPEG-4. And we won't get into all this stuff. You really don't have to care. But when you pull out the chip, you can't just double-click on it and open it up, all right? There's converter softwares in your video editing software will import it immediately. But I like the fact that when with a higher end camera, you've got a little more direct access. But the bottom line between all these things, again, avoid the shiny object syndrome. Generally speaking, the more you spend, the higher quality the video, and the more control you'll have over the lighting and the focus and manual control, which is very important when you start doing higher end stuff. If you're just starting out, just picking up a couple of clients, that sort of a thing, again, anywhere in the $200 to $1,000 range, you're going to be fine. And again, under $500, darn good. I mean, this thing is incredible. I've heard some people say that they've done some side-by-side tests, and there's very little difference between this camera and this camera. So generally speaking, again, I've found that instead of focusing on worrying about every feature and every product that goes out there, I've really just been sticking with Canons because I've gotten to know them. I've used the vast majority of the models, and I really trust them. Do you have any other add-ons here?
Well, one thing I would say, psychologically, depending on the sales process, although this is an amazing camera that does amazing output, there are some clients who won't take that seriously.
Yeah.
By the very nature of what it is. Definitely so for an iPhone. So if you're in a situation where a client's going to want to take you seriously, that's a case where the bigger the camera becomes an interesting game. So at that point, this will look much better than this to a certain type of client. Of course, if you're just doing in-house work, doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. And
this will look much better. I've heard jokes of people who have actually taken casings and put their iPhones in there to make them look like bigger cameras. But psychologically, I mean, it's about the sale. It's about the sale. And so psychologically, you know who you are, you know who your clients are. There are some clients who will not take that seriously. Therefore, they will not write the check. Therefore, bring one of these. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, that's actually that's a good point. At the end of the day, again, what I would do is I would definitely direct the client to, look, what matters most is the content.
Here's the output that I've done with this.
Yeah.
But just certain clients freak out at that, and
Sure.
it's not worth the freak out.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go mobile here, and what I'm going to ask you to do is just chime in and ask questions.
Okay.
And then, Haley, do we have any big questions that have popped up so far as we start hooking up our gear.
What was the model for the camera that was $350?
Okay, here's the deal. Just for the record here, and maybe this is a good thing, I'm not going to worry about models. It's in the buyer's guide. So instead of me spending time worrying about something that's going to be obsolete, look at the buyer's guide. It's all going to be there. You'll be able to download it. And the other thing I'd ask is please make sure to make your questions relevant to what we're covering here. I know there have been a bunch of questions about Facebook and stuff like that. Right now, let's just keep it on tasks and on topic. But everything's in the buyer's guide. Okay?
And there will be times to get your Facebook questions answered.
Yeah,
there will be
there
times
will.
to get these questions answered. It's just, this is the studio in a day.
Good.
Extremely valuable. And so let's focus on that.
Okay, so here's what the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just extend the legs for our tripod here. And kind of give you my basic setup that I've been using for years to make plenty of money and lots of clients very, very happy. Okay, so just like that. And then what I'm going to do is lift up the camera. And we already talked about this, the whole idea of using the music stand. And I made almost all my initial products with this model, or with this exact system here. So you can see how I just adjust the camera so it's right behind the laptop, all right? And then, if you can hand me the microphone over here. This is a little simple microphone, less than 50 bucks. And this just plugs into the top of the Kodak. All right, darn simple. So that's step one. Now the next step that I'm going to go over are our lights. Now you can see over here, this is one of the lights, little case. And this is also a light. Now, this is called a softbox. This is what you can get. You can get a whole set of 3 of these for under $500. And it's basically like a little tent with some reflective coating inside. And inside it, you've got bulbs. These are little fluorescent bulbs. And all the bulbs come with the lights. And basically, they plug inside, or excuse me, screw inside, like so. And ultimately what you have is a piece of fabric that goes over the top of this, and what it does is it makes the lighting very soft. And then there's a little stand mount right here. Here you can see it just plugs in a standard outlet. And you've got switches that allow you to turn on the bulbs one at a time. So you can get variable levels of lighting. So what winds up happening, and I'll kind of illustrate it here right now. The key things to know about lighting are this. I'm gonna shout out to my crew here. The light that's right in front of me is called a what, guys?
Fill light.
Fill light, great. So I don't know if we can kind of, if Brandon, if you want to kind of zoom in on that. That's the big light that right now is lighting the main area. But if all you had is a fill light, you're going to have a whole bunch of shadows, okay? So in this case, we also have, what do we call this, everyone?
Backlight or hair light?
Exactly, the backlight or the hair light. Now that's lighting the back of the head. Now you can see we took the poor man's approach here. And of course, this is going to be kind of unpleasant to look at broadcast, but what you're looking at is just a standard fluorescent set of bulbs. And I'm using, I believe, well, they're basically Philips daylight bulbs. I believe they're called T38s. Is that correct, Colin? Here's the deal. I just go to Home Depot and I get what are known as natural daylight bulbs. And I believe they're called T38s. Anyway, they're just screwed in here. The reason I use them, they're soft, they're easy on the eyes, they're cheap as heck. And until a very short period of time ago, this was my entire studio. I had, and you can see it up here, we have a fill that's actually using the fluorescent right above. Okay? So I've got a fill that's up above. I've got my hair light here. And on the sides, okay, This is actually used to light up the green screen material, which you can see here. And I'll pull it. It's the fabric. This is the soft fabric from EEFX. And it's actually just Velcroed to our wall. Now, a little while, I'm going to peel this away, and you can see, well, I'll do it right now, we've actually got our fake brick. All this is a couple of sheets of fake brick that I got at the local hardware store, and that way we can have a nice brick set. Now, the other thing I have, it's not set up right now, is I went on eBay, and I got some black fabric. It's basically theatrical curtains, and I just put rods and rails inside our studio so I could pull either blue or black curtains, and of course stand in front of it. So the whole thing is, building and putting together a little corner studio is so cheap, and it looks so good. And again, you're looking at around $500 to get started with the lights.
So in one corner of your room,
yep,
you can have multiple curtain colors. You can have green screen chroma key, and then some sort of nice set in the background. So you can have 5, 6 different visions just in one corner. Then if you have 2 corners, like here with the Digital Cafe set, you've got yourself an unlimited batch of possibilities.
Exactly. And you can see with the Digital Cafe, what I did here is I actually contacted, it was always a dream of mine to have this, but I actually contacted a restaurant supply company. They custom built this, and I said, I want Coca-Cola colors, okay? I thought it'd have the coolest feel.
Yeah.
So it cost a couple of $1,000 and a couple of months to get everything. And then you can see down here, now we don't have the whole set floor, but this is a black and white tile. I just actually hired a builder who he was in his late 50s, and he was a hot rod enthusiast. So when I just found him through a mutual friend, and I found out he's a hot rod enthusiast, and he was this age, and I said, how would you love to build a 50s set for me?
Awesome.
A couple $100. He
Yeah.
built all this stuff, set up, went out, and I got this corrugated steel. And all I did is I asked a restaurant owner, like basically Famous Dave's Barbecue.
Okay.
Famous Dave's a good friend of mine. Dave, if you're watching, how's it going? That's where I got the idea of this. And then I went online. I found the neon place, Jantech Neon. I said, here's a logo. How much is it going to cost? Now, unfortunately, this is the most expensive part of the whole set. It's about $900 for the sign. Had a second one, shattered. Okay. But the rest of it, I just went online and found a restaurant supply. So, of course, this is what you can do when you've got a little more dough. But it's become a little bit of a legendary place, and where Paul's sitting right now, we've had Tim Ferriss and Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy and Harvey Mackay and blah blah blah, Bill Glazer. This is a neat place.
Let you blah 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 to all those guys.
Yeah. It's now it's a trademark. It's something. So I think the whole thing, the reason I'm bringing this up is when you get a little bit creative and you start building a little bit of clout, you have some experience. Your ability to attract major people into your life by being able to support them with social media is fantastic.
And this, how big is this room here? This is
this whole area.
What,
is
15 by 15?
A little bit bigger than that.
What?
That sounds right.
At the most 20 by 20. So this is a standard office size. There's nothing, we don't want to break the magic here as much as we want to do. Just let you guys know that this is doable. So, you have a little bit of equipment here, a little bit of equipment here, multiple sets, multiple capabilities. You don't need to be Hollywood anymore. No, you can look like Hollywood. You don't need to be Hollywood.
Great. So let's take a look over here. I'll grab my remote. I think I may have set it down. And we've been talking about ScreenFlow and how this whole thing works. So typically what I do is I've got my microphone here. I'm already wearing a mic, but I'm going to put on a second mic so you can see it happen. And I'm going to demonstrate the process of actually recording something on screen. And then when I'm done, I'm actually going to make a product right in front of your eyes. And you'll see how easy this is to do. And also appear on camera. So we're going to show you something super simple and then kind of build up from there. Now at this point, I'm going to just find out, are there any burning questions that have come up so far, Haley, that need to be answered before I get into the recording?
Are you going to talk about clothing and colors?
Oh yeah, great one. Clothing and colors. Fantastic. Well, I'm really glad you brought that up. So, Right now you can see that from a lighting perspective, this looks good. Okay, now I'm wearing a solid blue, and one thing that I learned, this is a friend of mine, his wife is a fashion consultant. And look, I when I was a younger guy, I would have stripes going this way and stripes going this way. And kids would say, hey, did you dress yourself? And I'm like completely oblivious and had no idea what they're talking about. And what it turns out, all of us have a specific complexion, a coloration, combination of our hair, and it turns out that blue and green look good on me. Some people are earth tone people, some of them are different. And what you can do is just walk into like a makeup place, men or women, and say, what are my colors? And someone will instantly be able to say, oh, you're a blah, 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 and you should wear reds, or you should wear blues or greens or browns or whatever. And most people eventually, unless they're completely clueless like me, migrate towards a specific color combination. It's just what happens. So getting to the point, never wear stripes, okay? The next thing is you never want to be wearing a t-shirt because you'd have to hang the microphone on your neck. Also, never ever wear dangly jewelry, okay? That's bracelets, necklaces, rings, clanky earrings. It'll make a ton of noise. And a lot of newbies don't notice how distracting that is and how terrible it ends up being on video. So the next thing is hair and makeup. I don't know if one of you can hand my box of makeup. It's right behind you, Don, up on top. Nope, not that one, the wooden box. I'll show you a couple little tips that we always have. Thank you very much, Nick. This is my makeup box, okay? In it I have a shaver. So you always want to be clean shaven, ideally. This is just an interesting thing, but it turns out that men are less likely to be trusted if they are not clean shaven. That's an interesting little psychological thing. So beards apparently, for some reason, tweak some people's brains into thinking they're not as trustworthy. So you'll notice I never have facial hair. Plus I don't grow it well anyway. I look like... well, let's put it this way. When I go on an airplane, I get stopped. So that might indicate something. So I'm next thing here, I have one of these little lint brushes, so it has a little tape, and always go and do that. And inside here, I've got a little makeup brush. And this is standard makeup that you buy. It's cake makeup. Now, I just went online and I searched for this stuff, and it's just, in this case, it's Maron. Can you zoom in on that? Cake makeup. All right, and here's all you do. I have a little mirror, and what you do is you match it up to your face like this, and the whole goal of putting on a little bit of makeup or dust is you just swirl it around and you rotate to get rid of glare and shine. I don't have oily skin, but some people who have oily skin are just going to naturally shine and glow, and you want to get rid of that. It becomes, again, distracting. So I'm getting into some advanced topics here, no question about it. I guess you asked, and I went off on a tangent. Is this critical? Absolutely not, okay? I didn't have a clue about this until fairly recently, and the more exposure I got to the professional market, the TV market, and as a filmmaker, I started learning this stuff. The other thing you have is these little various goops, and you can buy this on any makeup counter, that if you've got pimples or zits or something pops up, which isn't uncommon, when you're thinking about, oh yeah, I'm going to be on camera tomorrow the first time, and then, you'll wake up in the morning with a big zit, like, ugh! So, I'll just, basically what I do is I just pick it and wipe the stuff on it and put some dust on, and that's it. So, the other thing that I always have, stick of deodorant, just in case. Another thing that happens when you get on camera, it's not uncommon to get a little bit nervous the first time around. So it just takes a little bit of experience. But that's basically it. So how was that? Any comments, questions?
Don't wear green on a green screen.
Oh, perfect. Nick brought that up. Don't wear green on a green screen. Had it happen. Turns out my wife, Vivian, one of her colors, she can wear bright oranges and bright lime green. It works. Well, I remember one time she's all excited. She shows up in the studio, and I'm like, honey, I can't put you on screen because you're invisible. So what happens is her green that she was wearing actually knocked out against the chroma key. It was very funny. So she could have just been a head floating around. And you'll see that in the chroma key editing demo. Well, we don't do the head, but I mean the point is you'll see how it gets knocked out. Any other questions, Haley?
Is there a specific place you should stand? To the left side, to the right, to the center? Does it make a difference?
Great. Positioning. Fabulous question. The answer is, let me just show you. I think it'll be easier if you watch it. Generally speaking, what you generally want to do, and this is something that photographers learn, is, you can always tell an absolute amateur or a beginner, which is they always center everything right in the center. Now, typically what you want to do is create an interesting environment. So I'm going to ask Brandon to frame me in the digital cafe before we get started. I think this is, kind of valuable. So typically, anytime you frame someone, you want to have something interesting off to one side or the other. So it can either be a box of stuff or an interesting person.
Yes.
So the whole idea is, ideally in this kind of a shot, I'd be right here and Paul would be over here, and you can also see the center camera, how that's positioned as well. But Nick, I'm going to ask you off camera. He's any other positioning advice?
You hit it. I mean, you want to fill the space,
You can go in.
or you want to create some sort of. You don't want everything to be too obvious.
Right.
So putting everything in the center is a little bit too obvious, and it's boring, frankly.
Yep. So I'm going to repeat what he said in case you couldn't hear him, which is putting everything in the center is obvious and boring. So when you're setting up a shot, there's a rule of what are known as thirds. So try to put the subject in the left third or the right third. Now, in the case where we're going to actually make an info product in a moment, I'm just going to be straight on right in the middle, and we're going to be basically cutting between some slides. So
that's in front of a green screen?
Yeah, in front of green screen. Yep.
One of the nice things about setting a shot up, framing it properly, a lot of times when we're in front of the camera and we're nervous, the idea if the camera's just us, we get a little bit scared. Mm-hmm. But there's actually a set, and there's some props, and you're only over in the corner. It kind of helps with the nerves a little bit.
Well, and the good thing is the next presentation I'm going to do for you is called How to Be Comfortable on Camera. So we're actually going to create a mini product, and the outcome and the goal is how to overcome being uncomfortable on camera, and also being able to direct people. Incredibly valuable skill. I'm going to teach you the secret to how literally I can walk on a stage of 5,000 people or 5 people, and everyone says, "Well, are you nervous?" And I'll be like, "No, I'm never nervous." And was I? Absolutely. I used to be terrified, as are most people. My wife was terrified not long ago, and she spent 3 years in Toastmasters. But I'm going to show you how to overcome the fear in 15 minutes. Awesome. And it's super easy.
Very cool.
So why don't we make a product? The outcome is we're going to actually record the screen using ScreenFlow. We're going to actually record it against green screen, and I'm going to show you how it's done. And then one of the things that we'll put in a separate video training module for you after the program is done is ScreenFlow editing. So you'll see how this is done after the fact.
Beautiful.
So is there anything else that you think I'm leaving out at this point?
No, I think it's good. Anything from the chat, Haley? She loves it when we throw this at her.
Oh, yeah. She's used to it now.
About different props.
Props. Yes. Okay. Here's what I'll tell you about props. Use them. Okay. So typically, what you want to do anytime you've got you're telling a story, and you'll notice that we did this during the promotion of social media marketing machines. And by the way, we should crank up the old air conditioning when we have an opportunity. But during the social media marketing machines launch, we brought in heroes, okay? These are folks like Fireman Mike and Brian and Valerie. And one of the things I asked them to do is I said, bring some props, bring proof, show, bring receipts in, check blanks. You'll notice that we brought in checks. Anytime you can engage the viewer and get them interested in what's coming next, and especially if they're all set out and you say, we're going to talk about this, 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 and this. Very effective. Again, these are advanced strategies, granted. Books. And books, yes. We did that with when we edited with Tim Ferriss. So I think the answer is anytime you can use a prop to engage is very, very effective, yes. Okay?
One more question. There's a couple people wanting to know, what about like setting up a full virtual set?
Okay, setting up a full virtual set. Now, just for anyone who doesn't know what that is, I'm assuming that a virtual set is a non-physical set, okay, versus what we have here where, you know, Digital Cafe, you could call it a virtual set. I mean, a set's a set. It's just a place to play in. Now, the design, my original intent inside this room, which is really my office, is have Digital Cafe, have green screen, have brick. I've got curtains behind us. You can twist around there, Brandon. I have the whiteboard set. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff on there, so we can turn the lights up. And then behind is what I call the desk set. That's where Haley and Don and Nick are right now with books, so having bookshelves. And the whole idea is what I want is flexibility. I want the ability to use all these resources at any time. And, you know, it was simple. But virtual sets, if I'm understanding the question right, is to actually replace the green with some sort of a set on the fly. We have this product, I mentioned it in the previous video, called a TriCaster, and that's what Colin is running behind the scenes right now. And we also have a product called Wirecast. It costs about $500. It's made from the same company that creates ScreenFlow. You can actually sit in front of a green area and replace all the green with a set. So, you know, I think here's the thing. It's a shiny object.
Yeah. It's a shiny object. And a couple of years ago, there was a product called Serious Magic that got a lot of attention from internet marketers. The fact of the matter is getting used to a virtual set, walking around a virtual set, you know, the keying and the software used to make it work. You can just do better with, you know, some stuff from a restaurant supply company.
Yep.
And, you know, it's doable. It's there, very shiny object-like, but there just are better options out there. And the thing is, the virtual sets still look like virtual sets.
Yeah.
And, you know, this looks like a real set, and this is cheaper and faster. So.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Again, I would just say do not get distracted by shiny objects. Unless it adds value and makes you money, it is a distraction. So now what we're going to do right now, just to set things up, Nick is actually adjusting the camera here. Is that about right, Nick, if I stand right here?
You're going to stand there? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you can see what we've done is we've set up the tripod. Now, if I were doing this all alone, all I'd do is I just push the record button. I'd stand where I'm going to stand, go back and preview the video when I'm done.
This is tracking your face.
Okay. Oh, it's such a fantastic little camera for the money. So here's what we've got. Just to set it up, right here I've got my little handy Kensington remote. The dongle is plugged in here. And I've got my keynote presentation, which I know Colin will cut to right now. Right, Colin? Okay. And you can see my slideshow, which is a presentation called How to Be Comfortable on Camera. And I'm going to do two things. I'm going to record video using the codec, and I'm going to record my screen at the same time. Now, I wouldn't have to do this. I could just sit here and just record the screen and make a nice video, but what you'll see a little bit later on is I'll actually show you how to edit this and make a product in less than an hour. In fact, we're going to make it in less than a half an hour. So unless there's something else, I'm going to teach you how to be comfortable on camera, and more importantly, how to direct someone. That cool?
Cool.
All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is on screen right now, I'm going to start recording the screen. And you'll notice that it's saying record audio from built-in microphone. If I had the Yeti plugged in, it would in fact be recording from that. And also, just for the sake of this, we'll record better. So maybe we'll slide this out of the way and adjust it, and then I'll look at the main thing. Yeah. Is that good?
Yeah. Careful not to go too far behind these lights here.
Okay. So just so you see that. Right now, these two lights are shining, so you can pull everything back, and I'll look at the main teleprompter. This is the Oz part of the show, so I'm actually going to create a real product while I'm demonstrating this. Okay, just removing our beautiful music stand. You can see how fancy this all is. Okay. Let's make sure that that laptop does not fall. That's the only thing you have to be very cautious about with these things, and make sure that that's working. And I'll stand about here, right? Okay, so we're adjusting the cameras now. I'll set up my little microphone on my person. Actually going to keep it below the fold. Okay. We about ready, Nick? Close?
Yeah, you want to roll on this one too?
Yeah, so go ahead and roll that, because we will actually demonstrate editing it. And then I'm going to click the record button on ScreenFlow. Again, if you're using Camtasia, it would work exactly the same way, whether it's a PC or a Mac. So I want you to know that the principles that I'm demonstrating right now work on PCs, they work on Macs. We just happen to be using a Macintosh. So the outcome here is I'm going to record the screen, record video, and make a mini product. Again, how can you use this to make money? Well, you can either do this for a client making a sales presentation, you can use it yourself, you can create training materials, etc., etc. So I'll record with ScreenFlow, turn that on, start up my presentation. We're recording with the Kodak. And Colin, are we ready to go? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you the poor man's clapboard that I've been using forever. Is the green screen chroma key okay, Colin? Yep. Fantastic. So what I'm going to do right now, stick this in my mouth and I'm going to clap 5 times. I do that because what's recording on the computer and recording on the Kodak need to be synchronized. So here's what we do. Hi, my name is Mike Koenigs, and today I'm going to teach you how to be comfortable on camera, and more importantly, I'll teach you how to teach other people to be comfortable on camera. It is a simple strategy that I've used with tons of celebrities, as well as people who've never been on camera before, even people who are terrified to be on stage. So, here's the first key. The magic of speaking and never getting nervous is you cannot focus on you. You have to practice the gift of empathy. And that means speaking to one person, focusing on your best customer, and remember that everyone's friend is nobody's friend. Being general doesn't sell. Okay, so that's a cut, and I don't know if there's any commentary that came across, Haley, any questions? But if there isn't, okay, good. Now, what we're going to do over here on screen is I'm going to go over to ScreenFlow, and I'm going to stop recording. Okay, that was 10 minutes in length. All right. And the first thing I'm going to do is save this document. And I'm going to call it How to Be Comfortable on Camera. And Nick is going to hand me the camera right now. I'm going to pop out our handy dandy SD card. Here it is. We're going to pop it in the side of the computer.
Do you want me to take your mic?
Yeah, you can take this little mic here. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. It got very quiet in here. It feels very mellow.
No, it's working good.
Okay. So, what we have on screen right now, this is actually an extra bonus. I didn't intend to do this today, but what the heck. All right. So on screen, what you can see is the video file that got recorded. Do we have this, Colin? Yeah. Okay. And again, what I'm going to tell you right now is we will give you a version of a recorded version of this editing process. But I'm just dragging that file from the chip into ScreenFlow. I'm going to tell you right now, what I just did is a pain to do in Camtasia, if not impossible. It is impossible, in fact. So this is the number one reason why I love using the Macintosh and ScreenFlow so much. So what I'm going to do is grab that video, drag it onto the screen here. All right. Yep. I'll do that again. There we are. And this is not practice, but you're going to see something as I zoom in. Check this out. We've got a couple little markers, and I'm going to slide this around for you and then zoom in, and you're going to see why I clapped. Okay? So you'll notice that there are these little clap marks, and I'm just going to line them up. Okay? Now the bottom one is the video, and the top one is actually the screen. By matching these up and synchronizing them, this is how we can align our program. All right, now I'll do one other thing for you so you can actually see how this works. And again, in the final edit demo, we'll get into a little more detail for you so you can see how this is done. I'm going to take the main screen, I'm going to tilt it sideways 40 degrees and shrink it down. It turns out I know the numbers, 82%. Okay, that's that part. Now, if I were doing this for real, I would have stood in front of a black background. Now I'm scaling this video down. There I am. And now the only other thing that I need to do is edit away the part before the clapping. So I'm going to just do a select all. I'm going to tell this to trim front to scrubber. And again, you get all this, so if this isn't making complete sense, it's okay. It's kind of advanced. My goal is not to overwhelm, but basically be able to give you a little bit of a fire hose of information here that you'll be able to use to make some money. This one skill that I'm teaching you is enough to, in my opinion, have a seven-figure business a year. All right. Okay. So I go to the end. I'll say trim end to scrubber. And at this point, I'm going to just play this so you see it.
Hi, my name is Mike Koenigs, and today I'm going to teach you how to be comfortable on camera. More importantly, I'll teach you.
What we have is a presentation. If I scrub through it, the entire slideshow and someone on camera. And again, if I were standing in front of black and actually looking at the little camera that I pulled the video from, we would have a full product created just like that. This is how you can take any presentation of any sort and virtually immediately create a video that can be distributed on YouTube or sold. And you can take a sales presentation. This is a huge opportunity if you're a social media marketer or a Main Street marketer to actually coordinate and work with a client and build these. So I don't know if there's any questions that have come up so far. Anything that I'm leaving out, Paul?
No, just to kind of wrap this into the Social Media Marketing Machines group, one of the interesting things here is we chatted about in the YouTube session, one of the ways to sell YouTube services is to prove yourself inside of YouTube. And so, you've been given a lot of training, you've been given a lot of information. You can use this technique to produce a stunning YouTube video. And you put that YouTube video up, it begins to establish you as a social media expert inside of YouTube. So it's a chance to practice this in such a way that utilizes it in your personal revenue generating opportunities. And that's something that we wholeheartedly promote here. So don't just wait until you get the client to do this. Build one of these for yourself. Teach a little bit about what you do as a social media marketer, and then get that bad boy up on YouTube and start getting the views accordingly. Yes, this is coming from the YouTube guy, but practicing what you preach is always a good thing.
Agreed. All right, so what I'd like to do now, I got to just check in with my team here. We're going to go and we're going to do a 10 by 10 by 4 and talk about that, including an interview with Don Crowther, who's in the studio with us today. But in the meantime, I'm wondering if we can't queue up and do the chroma key editing training. Is that okay, Colin? We'll do either one is fine. I'd suggest maybe Premiere because it will. Is that cool? Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to cut to the training with Nick. He's actually going to walk you through the process of editing chroma key video. That would be the green screen video in Premiere. The reason why we're going to show you that first is because it works on PCs and Macs. Nice and straightforward and simple. And then we'll run and actually demonstrate, Colin will demonstrate the iMovie chroma key, and followed by the Vegas chroma key demo. Then we're going to come back and do an interview with Don Crowther, and we're going to review the 10x10x4, which is actually one of the pillars of what we teach and train in all of Traffic Geyser's training. And the bottom line, the power of this is being able to gather information and content from anyone's mind, turning anyone into an expert and authority, and then being able to use Traffic Geyser to distribute that content through all the networks very, very rapidly. And you're also going to learn some great stuff from Don, because he's got some super Q&A that I think you'll really appreciate and enjoy, and you'll really get inside Don's head, because he's really one of the best minds in social media marketing today, in my opinion. So let's move on to the training tutorial, and you'll learn how to edit in Premiere.